All right, excellent. My name is Deb Quintel. Hello, everyone. Welcome to joining us. Thank you for joining us. I am the Director of Curriculum Development for CALI, and I'm joined today by John Mayer and his pumpkin. John, of course, is our Executive Director. And of course, our speaker that you have all joined us to hear is Elmer Masters, our Director of Internet Technology, or maybe just Internet.
Or just technology.
Sure. Technology, right? Whatever form it comes, whether it be battery operated via the internet. I just know him as Elmer. So Elmer is going to be speaking to us today all about LessonLink. This session is recorded. Thank you. You can listen to it later. And the chat is disabled for your convenience. And we have asked that you please put all your questions into question and A. We'll answer as many as we can after Elmer finishes his presentation, and any leftover questions we will take and write up some answers for and post somewhere where you can find them at some point. As always, you can tweet about this exciting event at CALI.org. And with that, Elmer, take it away if you would, please.
Thank you, Deb. Hi, everybody. It's a sunny 80-degree afternoon here in Middle Georgia. So it's quite nice today, and I'd rather be outside mowing the lawn. Now we're here, we're doing this. We're going to talk about LessonLink today. I have no slides. It's going to be all demo and my talking face. As we get started here, I'm going to fire up a poll to get some information about who's using LessonLink and what they're doing with it. So I'm launching the poll right now. You should be able to see it. We're going to leave it open for a couple of minutes while I'm talking here. It's a multiple choice thing, so you can click all of the things that apply, and then we'll get back into it in just a little bit. So real quick about CALI, LessonLink makes use of CALI Lessons, and I never get tired of telling people that CALI Lessons are law faculty authored, peer-reviewed, interactive tutorials designed for self-paced learning of legal topics with immediate feedback for students. And we have well over 1,000 of them in over 36 areas of the law. So there's like plenty of stuff. We don't really have comprehensive coverage in a lot of those topics, but in the first year subject areas, we're pretty good. So I just wanted to give you that quick background on lessons before I spend a bunch of time talking about how to use them. So you have some idea about what they are. So LessonLink is how you assign CALI lessons to your students. Let's wrap up the poll here in about 5 seconds. I'll have it open for 1.5 minutes. That should be pretty good. So we'll click the end polling button, and I'm going to share the results. And let's take a quick flip through this, and I see that the most popular response is, I haven't used it. Good, actually, because hopefully after this quick demo, you'll take a look at it and and give it a whirl yourself. Let me just make sure we've got everything squared away here before I start sharing a screen.
Leave the poll for 1 more second.
Yeah, I'm going to leave the poll up here for a little bit, and I get all of my browser windows opened appropriately, because I've got we're trying, hopefully, well, I think everybody knows how software demos usually go, but this one is web-based, so that should make it a little bit better. So yeah, so I haven't used it. It's the number one response there, and then with 41%, I'm not surprised. And then the next thing is that you don't use it, but you assign or recommend CALI lessons to your students. And that's what a lot of faculty do. They just say, here's a lesson if you want, it's helpful, or you should go take a look at it, or that sort of thing. And then students can go and run them. They don't need LessonLink to run lessons. They can just run as many lessons as they want, as often as they want. And 24% said I'm using it this semester, which is awesome. We've got a couple of hundred, about over 250 folks using it this semester from about 124 schools. So it's pretty popular. But so that's a big deal. And then let me see what else. So that's pretty good. And then of course 24% of people are saying they're planning on using it in the future. Excellent. I will tell you that I'm going to stop sharing this right now, and we'll save those for we'll have those later, and we'll post those results in case people want to look at them later too. Right now, more people than ever are using LessonLink, and it's really helping drive us to what is actually our busiest semester for lesson usage in the past 10 years. So keep up the good work. So now we're going to do a demo on just how you work your way through LessonLink. So I'm going to do a screen share here, and we'll just click all the buttons. All righty, so now you should be able to see my screen. Excellent. Okay. So what we're looking at is the LessonLink page that appears in the from the drop-down menu under CALI Dashboard. You need to have a CALI account, and you need to be logged in order to do this. And your students, of course, need to have CALI accounts and be logged in order to see and run CALI, or in order to run CALI lessons. So we're going to start right at the top. Over the last couple of weeks, I've actually revamped the interface here a little bit and kind of cleaned it up and added, gotten rid of the list of links and replaced it with like shiny buttons. Well, they're not shiny, but with buttons and stuff, so that it has kind of a more modern sort of look to it. So a new feature is the Create New Lesson Links button is on like all the LessonLink pages. So we're just going to start there to create new lesson links. So this is just a pretty straightforward form to fill out, right? So it asks for a few things. There is a little bit of help that is stashed behind the help button here, and so you can, for example, a reminder that students have to use the LessonLink link in order for you to see their grades and results. If they just go and run the lesson, then you can't see them, and you can't see the results. It's less of a problem than it used to be because of some changes we made to the website, so that it's actually easier for faculty to share the links and for students to follow them. So, but that little bit of help is there in case you need it. There's also a short section here if you actually have multiple lesson links for multiple courses. They'll turn up here in case you want to just edit an existing set. You can sort of get to that from here also. But we'll get on with creating lesson links. So first of all, we need to give it a course name. I'm fond of law followed by some number, and we'll go with 789. If you have a course website, you can include it here. This is optional. You don't have to. Most people don't, so it's not too big a deal. Then you select a semester. It defaults to the current semester, which is fall 2020. But you can, if you're beginning to work now on stuff for next semester, for over the winter or in the spring, you can actually create stuff for spring of 2021 now, or even next summer if you want to. We'll stick with fall 2020. Then we are going to scroll down here a little bit. We'll we'll select a topic. So I'm going to look for, I want to do, let's say, property law. So I'll just start typing. Let's see, and we'll pick property from the list. So this sort of, as you start typing a topic, it actually kind of does a little search for you through the CALI topics. And then we can pick that, and then it gives us this long list of lessons. And then from this list you can select what you're looking for. Now, if you've never looked at CALI Lessons before, I would suggest that you actually start by rather than jumping in right here, I would actually recommend that you start by taking a look at browsing lessons, either by the first year grouping or by topics, or even subject outlines, so that you get an idea of what we have. Because, like I said, there's over 1,000 of them. We cover a lot of ground in a lot of subjects. But if you've already done that and you're sort of looking, you just want to, sort of have a refresher. There's a little info link next to every title. You can click on that, and that'll give you the descriptions, the learning outcomes for the lesson, how much time your students can expect to spend on the lesson, and who the lesson authors are. There's also a stray button at the bottom. That's a bug. It doesn't do anything. And I'm working on trying to make it go away, if I could actually figure out where it's coming from. But I don't know. And that's the truth. It's really weird. It's the mystery button, but there it is. And then when you're done, you can close that. So we'll select bailments. We'll work down the list here a little bit. Let's try express easements. Future interest rules, always popular in property. So you could just basically scroll down the list here. Let's also hit the estate system at the bottom. When you get to the bottom, the list can be long depending on the topic. You do have to click the submit button, and that basically creates your set of lesson links. Now that takes you to the courses page, which lays out. This is the page that basically has your lesson links on it. For teachers, it also provides a small administrative area at the top, where you can get to different to do different things, like look at student grades, and edit and add lesson links and clone the set. And you can also go back to the big page. What the students see when they look at this, and we'll just make a quick copy of this link, and we'll go over to another browser window. This particular browser window is logged in as a student, so we can see what students look like. So when a student looks at the same list, all they see are the links. So they don't see all of the buttons for editing and all that. The only person who can see those is you when you create the because you created the links. It also sends you an email, and we can take a quick look at that. So you should get an email when you create a set of lesson links that has all of this in it. It basically sends you the links, and you can copy and paste them, or you could forward this email to your students, however you would like to do that. You can copy each individual link and paste it into your LMS, paste it into, if you just have like a course website, or you could email them out one at a time if you want. However you want to sort of, set those up. Because one of the things that this page doesn't yet allow you to do is put them in any particular order. Okay, they're basically showing up in the order of, like if you notice this particular element, you'll see like here it says 593, this is 607. Those are the identifiers for the lessons, and that's the order that it shows them in on this page. I'm working on a set of features that'll allow you to put these in the order that you would like students to run them. And that'll be a help, and I expect to have that ready for the spring, but fingers crossed. So that's the big the getting stuff created. So we can go back to the main lesson links page from there. So now you'll notice that this page basically gives you a list of all of the sets of lesson links that you've created for this semester. So if you're teaching a couple of different courses, or a couple of different sections of the same class, you can create different sets of lesson links, or even the same set of lesson links for different classes, so that you can keep them organized by that student grouping. So on this page, looking at this little table here, let me scroll down to one that has some numbers on it. So the number of runs column is the number of times that students have clicked on the link and actually run the lesson. Okay. Now that doesn't, students can run them more than once. So if you have 12 students and this number gets to 28, that just means that chances are your students have run the lesson more than once. And that happens less these days, for the most part, than it used to, but still happens. So folks can do that, and then you can actually see the grades for a particular lesson by clicking on the grades button. And then basically, this tells me a whole lot of nothing because I'm not an actual student. But if I was, you would see the date that they worked on the lesson, what their grade was if they actually worked on the lesson. Sometimes they do and don't. The number of questions that they answered, the number that were correct, and then the total number in the lesson. Again, you may see sometimes the lessons are a little complicated, and so the answered and correct, the answered totals might not, or the number of questions answered might not equal the total number of questions in a lesson. The lessons, a lot of lessons are complicated. They have branching. So a student may answer a question and it would move them to another part, and they may not see 3 or 4 questions just based on their answer to a particular one. And we do hear from students about that quite a bit, who are concerned that maybe they had missed some work and stuff. So, but there's that. And then let's see, we'll go back to LessonLink. You can also download, using for each individual lesson, you can download the grades and open that up in Excel or your favorite spreadsheet program. You can also get all of the grades for a course, for all of the lessons. So the button at the top there that says download all grades for this course, that's like everything. So that will download for all of the lessons that you've assigned all of the student grades for that, as opposed to doing it lesson by lesson. You can't share this with anybody. So if you have a teaching assistant who's helping you with grades, they can't see this page because you created it. And so the way to get them the grades, if you want them to sort of compile them in a grade book or something like that, or check to see that students are doing them, would be for you to download the spreadsheet and share it with your teaching assistant. Adding the ability to share with a teaching assistant is on our list of things to do. I'm not sure if that'll be ready for next semester or not, though. But it is something that we're working on, because it is a feature that folks request quite a bit. And then the last column takes you into the lesson analytics, which is a much more in-depth look at how things work, how students reply and respond to lessons, and it shows you comparisons for the entire class and all that sort of stuff. And we're going to get into that more next week. So next Friday's webinar, costumes optional, is going to be about Lesson Live and lesson analytics. So we'll get in depth on that next week. Let's see.
Elmer, can I jump in
Yes.
here with a couple
Sure, Deb.
questions?
Sure.
So there's a question that if you have multiple sections of the same course, can you cut what you have done from one to the other? Or do you go in and select? So I answered yes, and I promised people that you would demo how to do that.
Right, and we'll get that's cloning lesson links, and we're going to get to that. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Is that any other ones, Deb, or?
Well, no, I'll assume you get to the other ones too.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil anything else.
But Deb, that's your job. That's why you're like our corporate counsel. You ruin all the fun. Yeah, thanks.
Carry on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I will. So let's take a look at. So you've created a set of lesson links, and you'd like to add to it because, as you notice, you can pick one topic as you're moving through things. So if you want to add lessons from another topic, or if you want to remove some of them that you already have, you can do that from here. So you click on the edit add link, and it opens up a nice form here. You can change the name of the course. This allows for typos because that happens, right? You can add or remove the course website if you want to. Let's say we decided we don't really need the bailments title, so we'll take that away. And then let's say we want to add, so we can add things from any topic. But say you've created a lesson with CALI Author on the web and published it. You can actually add those to LessonLink sets. So you can add CALI Author lessons that you create, and you can also add QuizWrite quizzes that you create can be added to LessonLink also. So to find those, the quickest way, well, they're listed under your CALI library resources, which I know is very wordy and isn't like really sort of easy to remember. So I'll come up with something else, but for right now, they're listed under your CALI library resources. And if we click on that, that'll show you all of the things that you've created and published to the website. So if you had done auto-published lessons prior to last February, they would be listed here. If you've created quizzes with QuizWrite or self-published lessons with CALI Author Web, you'll be able to select those here and add them to your course. So I'm going to click this. You could select other topics at this point too. We're just going to do this one real quick, and we'll hit the submit button. And then this takes us back to that courses page. So it's still the same URL. That doesn't change. What did change was the list of lessons. So the bailment lesson left, and we brought back LessonLink, or a LessonLink lesson, which is a self-published lesson. And then you also get another email, which we're going to hit down here, which basically shows you the list of the complete set of listed lesson links. The complete set of lesson links that you've created. So it took away bailments and it added the LessonLink lesson to that list. And by the way, if you do this and you don't get the email, you should check your spam folder, okay? Because our email, all of our web stuff is in the Amazon cloud, including the mail system. So when things get mailed from our website back to your school, they're coming from the Amazon cloud. And it's not terribly unusual for university email administrators to have banned all mail from the Amazon cloud flat out as being potentially evil. So it could end up in your spam folder. And if that does happen, if you would be so kind as to check with your local email administrators, your local tech support folks and ask them if they could whitelist webmaster@cali.org. That'd be really helpful for us. And if it doesn't show up, period, like after a half hour or so, definitely drop me an email and let me know, and I'll look into it, because there could be something up. And we do need to be able to mail stuff around. So so that's how you edit and add links to things. And we'll go back to the main page here. Now, if you have two sections, right, of the same, and you want to use the same set of lessons for each section, or if you're if you're going to be teaching the same thing in the fall, or in the spring rather, of 2021, or even in the fall of 2021, and you want to be able to go and clone, make a copy of that same set of links, so you don't have to check all the little boxes and stuff, there's a button for that. So we'll click on Clone Lesson Links, and that makes a copy of the whole thing. You can leave the course name the same, because what'll happen is it's creating a whole new set. So there'll be a different URL. So if you teach Law 789 every fall, you don't really have to change that. But let's say I have two sections of 789. So I'm going to make this one 789B. And we can leave everything else the same, or we can add, let's add something from contracts. So let's add something about drafting with and or, why not? And then again, we hit the submit button. So this has now created a new set of links for this next session for 789B. So you'll notice that the URL for courses, is now 7423. The other one was 7421. That means somebody else created another set of lesson links in between there. So let's see, 7223. So if I'm a student in 789B, that's what that looks like. Okay. And then that way you could just keep using the same set every semester. We don't recommend that you use we recommend that you either clone or create a new set every semester, because what happens is if you just keep using the same one year after year after year, it becomes difficult to sort out the students in the as you look at the list, because it'll just keep growing. And it just keep getting bigger, and that's a bit of a problem. And one thing to mention is this little box on the side here, My CALI Courses. So what happens is when somebody follows a link for this page, because we don't know who's in your class, right? We don't track that. We don't ask the registrars to upload that stuff or anything like that. So we don't know who's in your class. But if they happen to click on the link for the course that you provide, if you decide to use that, they will show up on a list then that turns up both on the student's side and also on in your space, so that you can move around through stuff there. So let me see where we're at here. Let's see, I already talked about grades. So adding stuff to an LMS, the easiest way to do it is to actually just make a copy of, just copy this link and paste it into Canvas or Moodle or Sakai or Blackboard. The one thing that you should do, though, is check and make sure that the link is set up so that it opens in a new tab or window, because sometimes, depending on how your LMS is configured, it might put a frame around the lesson, and that messes with our cookies. And it sort of shows itself in the part where students say that they followed the link, and it keeps telling them to log in. for example, would be one example of an issue with cookies. But so that's the big thing. Make sure it opens in a new tab or window, and then that avoids that particular problem. Another thing that comes up is when students run a lesson, like how do they know that they're doing the LessonLink lesson, right? So there's a couple of things you could remind them of. You could tell them to look for the word LessonLink in the URL. That's a giveaway. The other thing is when they run a lesson, there's actually a big logo at the top that says LessonLink. So that's how students can know that they're running a LessonLink lesson, and that means you'll be able to see the grades. Okay, if it doesn't say LessonLink at the top, then they can't. Then you're not going to be able to see the grade. So for example, this one we ran, it has LessonLink, and so that's fine. If the student just went and dug up the lesson on their own for some reason, let's back out of here. So let's say they went and they did a search for drafting with and or. And let's see, that should turn up the lesson. So there's the lesson. If the student just goes in this way and runs the lesson, they click on the Start Lesson button. Now notice the lesson link is gone. So that means that the student can do this lesson and they'll be able to see the score, but you won't be able to see the score. And we don't have a facility for linking those together. So if a student, if you assign a lesson and the student doesn't run the lesson link, but says, but I did the lesson, then it's up to you to decide what you want to do about that, because you can, the student can generate a certificate at the end of the lesson. You could accept that if you want to. And some of you who just assign lessons but don't use LessonLink may already be doing that. You may just be, asking students to submit the certificates that turn up when they complete a lesson at the end. And from the student's point of view, they can see whether or not it was a LessonLink, when they're looking at their results, by whether or not there's a professor name there. If there's no professor, then that means they didn't run a LessonLink. So. And that is all I have on this, and I think we're ready for some questions.
I've got a couple questions here for you, Elmer.
All right, fire away, Deb.
First of all, could you explain why my courses might vanish at the end of the semester and remind me where I could find those?
Oh, thanks for asking that question, Deb, because I forgot about the archive part, and I even have that on my see, sometimes you have an outline and you still miss it. So when you're on the LessonLink page, there are 4 tabs across the top. The main one, which has everything for this semester, the Create Lesson Links, which is the tab for getting started, your current lesson links, which looks a lot like the main LessonLink page, and then LessonLink Archives. So the LessonLink Archives is where your stuff goes at the end of the semester. So in the semester switchover points, for those of you who are interested in knowing, the fall semester starts on, and we do this, we know that this doesn't match up with any actual real live school. So we have like a disclaimer, no law school schedules were hurt in selecting when semesters begin and end. But obviously, it's a moving target, but so sometimes stuff might move around. But for the fall semester, in our system, starts on August 1st and ends on December 31st. The spring semester begins on January 1 and ends on May 15th. And then and that's a change, by the way, from May 1st. We pushed it back to May 15th. So, last year, some people had some stuff roll over, and then they kind of were wondering where it went. That's where it went. So May 15th, and then the summer semester runs from May 15th to July 31st or 30th, or however many days there are in July, the last day in July. So those are the 3 things. So what happens is on those days, the lesson links that are set that are under this area actually then move to the archive space. So that's where you can find them. And they go all the way back.
Then I've got another couple questions here for you.
Yep.
Could you show, well, a quick one first. Using an LMS such as Canvas. So I sent the link to the FAQ about using LMSs to people in the chat. But also the links are able, could you take us to the page where links can be copied individually to be pasted into the LMS, just so people get a visual memory of that? That would be helpful, I think. And then if they read.
Right, so that,
yeah, thank you.
yes, so that's on, so you can get those out of the email, right? So that the plain text links are in the email, so you can copy and paste from the email that gets sent. Or if your mail system is doing weird things to links, which they do, from the LessonLink page here, you can click on View Lesson Links, and that's for this course, and that opens the course page. And then you can just copy these links, right? So either a right click, a right click and copy link address. Will then create something that that'll be, and then you can paste that into Canvas, or you can do the highlight the text. Just make sure you get it all and nothing extra, and then do a copy of that, and then that's the same thing that'll allow you to paste that into something else.
So I can paste it into an email to my students, or I could paste it directly into my LMS. But I believe I should be, that I should never paste it into a Word document, correct?
Yeah. So yes, please don't ever post them into Word documents. So there's a long running and very ancient bug in Word that really messes with the way that links work for things that require logins, like CALI lessons. And it just doesn't work right. So, and we haven't seen it. This is actually something that hasn't come up recently, because not so many people are using are doing that anymore, right? Because people are using their LMSs, or they're using web pages or email more, and they're not just sending out Word documents to their students. So they'll work fine in PDFs. So if you so this is kind of a workaround. If you put them in a Word document, you can then print that to PDF or export it to PDF, and the link should work from the PDF. But it's a problem in Word. So
I'm going to ask a long question here, so you can take a sip of your beverage, and I'll distract people by bringing my camera live. So let's talk about the benefits of faculty view as a feature, because you pointed out the little info button or tab or word, whatever you want to call it. If I'm unfamiliar with a lesson, I can't remember exactly what's in bailments.
right.
I want to see it in more detail. So the way I tell people is go to lessons, go to subject outline, find property, find bailments, and then if you want to show us from there. So this is the short version, but I can't see the full faculty view from here, I don't think. And I'm interested.
Right, you cannot. Right.
Right. So I need to open another browser window, I think, and then find my subject outline.
Right, or one thing you can do is you can just do a search. So we're looking at, it was drafting. We'll stick with this one.
Okay.
Drafting with or. So what Deb's talking about is we do have a detailed version of sort of the lessons. That's the sort of it's called faculty view. So So if you're looking at, and this is another reason to browse through the lessons themselves as opposed to just looking at that little info box. So when a faculty member is on a lesson page and they're logged in, there's a teaching guide that that appears. And one of the things that's available there is the faculty view. And that basically gives you all the information that we have about, it's basically looking inside the lesson, right? So it shows you, it shows you the entirety of the lesson, and maybe a subject for a future webinar would be a longer look at all of the things that are in here. But this lets you get into a lesson basically, and you can see all the questions, all the answers. You can see them in the context. You can click on the view in LessonLink, view in the lesson, and that'll actually open up the lesson and you'll be able to look at it. There's a mapper available that gives you a broader, gives you an overview of what the whole thing looks like, so that you can see how complicated a lesson might be. So there's a lot going on here. So this is the faculty view that, and it gives you basically everything you need to know about a lesson, and is invaluable for trying to make decisions about, is this something that I want to use in my course? Where does it fit in? What can I use it? How can I, can I use, is this lesson, will doing this lesson replace like 10 minutes of lecture time, so that, the students learn from the lesson, and then that frees up lecture time for, or class meeting time for talking about something else.
And speaking of class time and freeing up lecture time and things like that, is there a limit to the number of lessons that you can add to LessonLink for your course?
No.
Excellent.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
And so as a test of this earlier, and using a different account, so I don't have it to show off, we actually added all contracts lessons, which are like 97 of them or something like that. All
Close.
contracts lessons to a single set of lesson links. Now, of course, the thing about it is that, again, it's a gigantic list, and these do take time. So, assigning, 97 lessons, involves, a lot of student time. I mean, probably more time than they would spend reading their casebook, for example.
Right. I always tell
complete all those
faculty,
lessons, yeah.
I tell faculty assigning all the lessons is analogous to assigning your favorite casebook, your second favorite casebook, and then all the supplements you've ever heard or seen on Amazon. All right. Another question. If I'm visiting, I'm teaching this fall semester, and I have a great set of lesson links. And now I'm going to be visiting at a school in spring, and I'm going to be using their credentials for my CALI account at their school. What happens to my lesson links? Will they travel with me, or my archived ones?
Okay. So this is actually,
I need re-credentials is the short version.
Yeah. So the best thing to do, so first of all, if you're only going to visit a school for one semester, I just recommend just using just continue using your same account. The account belongs to you. Like, this is kind of hard to explain, sort of, but the accounts are tied to the person who creates it, right? So what you can do is you can contact us, and we'll update your information with the school that you're visiting at, and then all of your stuff will just follow with you, right? Or you could continue using your account as it is, and that'll work too, because the students, any student who sees, who gets a link for the set of lessons that you create, you'll be able to, once they run that, you'll be able to see those grades. But if you want to make sure that you're associated with the school for for sort of statistical purposes, yeah, just send an email to webmaster@cali.org, with like sort of the effective dates of when you want that to happen, and we'll change your affiliation in our system, and all of your stuff will travel with you. Because if you create a new account, then that's a brand new account, and you won't have your whatever historical stuff you have.
So my next question, Elmer, is from a professor who is using LessonLink, and this is what they write. My students said when they went to review their old CALI lesson using LessonLink, the students had to retake the whole quiz and could not review their previous submission. Can you explain that? That last question was me. It's a question, but I know you
right. So this is a little bit, also a little bit complicated. When you run it, let me just jump over to the student side of things. So when you run a lesson, if you don't complete it, right? So if you don't mark it complete, you can always resume it at the point that there's no review function, I guess is the big thing, right? So once you've done a CALI lesson and you've marked it as complete, then basically all you can see is your score, right? And that's accessible for students from, this is the My Lesson Runs page. This is where students see their results. Okay, so I can click on the score, and that will that'll tell me the questions that I've answered and how they're scored, right? And so this is the kind of review that they have. Now, if they haven't marked the lesson as complete, which that one wasn't marked as complete, they can click on the resume link, and that will actually put them back in the lesson at sort of the position where they left off. Now, if they go backwards into sections that they've already visited, they won't see, it doesn't like replay the lesson at all.
Does it change their score when they answer the question again?
No, it doesn't change their score when they answer the question again. It will change the score of any questions that they haven't answered, but it won't change the score of questions that they haven't answered, or that they have already answered.
There's no
eraser. There's no review function. And we've actually had, this was actually a thing that come up rarely in the past, but has come up quite a bit this semester from students who aren't quite sure how to, sort of how to navigate around inside of lessons. And that's the thing. So once they do a lesson, it's essentially done, and they can resume, but it picks up where they left off, and it doesn't allow them to kind of go back and take a look at things. There's also, another thing that we have that's a sort of a warning to students. If they're inside of a lesson and they get they feel like they're kind of like boxed in, or they're not quite sure what to do, and they do and if they refresh the web browser at that point, it will wipe out their score. And depending on the browser, it may or may not give them an alert. So now you notice that says 00, and if I exit out of here, and now you can see that was battery. It still have the 100. It's still, so it saved the score here, but it reset the browser. And if they had continued to work on it, the score wouldn't have gotten corrected right. And and so there are issues around the things that students do in their web browsers. Because one of the things that happens is students aren't aware of the resume feature, for example, seems to be a big thing that students don't know about. They don't know about this page, and the fact that they can stop and restart a lesson. They don't need to work through the whole thing, and then they also can't review the score. They're free to run the lesson again, obviously, but they don't always. But there's no review function. We are looking at that. It's like technically a little complicated to try and figure, to sort of like reload the lesson and get all the things sorted back up.
I think what is a related question here, Elmer? Let's go into the math aspects of how scores are calculated. We got a question on that. So let's take a CALI lesson and suppose that it has 10 questions. And if I come in as a student and I answer 4 of the questions and I get them all correct, and I hit complete and I'm so excited, I go off and socially distance celebrate. And John comes along and he runs the version of the lesson and he gets the first 4 questions right, but he continues with a lesson and does the remaining 6 questions, which unfortunately, John, you did not get correct. So as the faculty member, I believe it's going to show up that I have a score of 100%. John has a sad face and he has 40%. John attempted more questions. So what should the faculty do to make sure that the student has not just answered one question amazingly well, but instead has participated in the whole exciting lesson by answering all the questions?
So, tell the student to work through the whole lesson. I mean,
right. And so the faculty
not...
member, right. The thing is, the faculty member doesn't always know how many questions, but your number here that you're seeing here is kind of helpful, because supposing that this was not Elmer and all of his Elmer friends working through this lesson, as a faculty member, I could scroll down this list, seeing the right-hand total column. And if the numbers are varying greatly, I know that the students are completely shy of answering all the questions, although it is possible to complete every question presented to you, and presented to you is the key word here, every question presented to you with branching lessons and get 100%, but you may have answered fewer or lesser questions than your student classmate because of paths you take in the lesson. So I always advise faculty just use a little bit of common sense. If the numbers and the total column are varying greatly.
Well, actually, Deb, it's the total is the actual number of questions in the lesson in the total column.
Perfect. Great.
So what they want to be looking for, what they want to be looking for are the answered column, right? So that's the number that they answered. So the number answered and the total number should be, for the majority of lessons, should be the same, right? If they're not, then that may indicate that the student either skipped a question or and again, or well, it again, lesson dependent. But if you're looking at a class of 10 people and you're running a lesson that has 11 questions, and 9 people answered 11 questions, and one other person only answered 3, then they didn't do the lesson, right? So so that's up to the teacher to look at the results and say, hey, you left a whole bunch of stuff blank. I can see that because everybody else did the 11 questions. You only did 3. You need to correct that. So part of it is not, there's no way for us to enforce the students actually work through the lesson. That's not how things are designed, and it's not how the website, the lesson viewers put together, right? It's self-paced learning, so people can stop and start, and those sorts of things. But the and again, the teacher could look at the lesson beforehand and say, and let the students know there are a total of 11 questions in this lesson. You know, so keep that in mind when you're answering things. You know, so and partly, you know, now and just as a side note, you know, there's a problem with the CALI website. Is the 21st version of The Dog Ate My Homework in Legal Education. So it does come up sometimes that people will say, like, you know, I got stuck, or I you know, I ran, you know, and a lot of times they're, you know, they just need to keep working. You know, and so it's sort of a matter of comparing what other students have done to the one who you think maybe hasn't done enough. But that's up to the teacher to enforce.
Great. And we're just a couple minutes before the hour here. I know we wanted to keep it to an hour. So I know we want to encourage everyone to come back and join us next Friday, where we're discussing the hauntingly frightening, exciting topic of analytics, I believe.
Yeah, and CALI Lesson Live, which is how to run these lessons live in a class.
Right.
And then
right.
as sort of a gateway to the analytics analytics stuff, and yeah, and we'll be doing that next week. Hopefully it'll be so look for an email with a sign up probably on, I guess, on Monday. Probably not later today, but probably on Monday. And we'll be sending out that email, and yeah, and we'll probably be, we may even encourage, since it's a live thing, we may encourage people to actually participate then too. So
That would be exciting.
it would be exciting.
I put your webmaster email address, Elmer, in the chat for people if they have any questions about any CALI features or LessonLink.
That's fine.
Certainly email us. And then I guess, John, do you want to sing us out here?
Thanks for coming. See you next week.
Yeah, we'll see everybody next week.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Elmer.
Bye.
Bye.